and takes care of business against a top 25 ranked Tennessee team who's an excellent program. I mean, just a very good team, and LSU was able to respond because I think it was really set up. I kind of said it going into it last week. It was set up for failure kind of for LSU, for them to kind of be playing some ugly basketball as of late, and then to turn around and play against a team who's playing really good, coming off of a big win where they defeated UConn, and then they're going to come into the PMAC and try to defend home court when you only beat them by a last-second, little hook floater by Kaylin Gilbert. Speaking of Kaylin Gilbert, 21 second-half points for LSU. Once again, she really hadn't – she was in a little bit of a slump since the last Tennessee game. Makes it happen yesterday. Big win for LSU. Big win for Kaylin Gilbert. It was good to see her back in the mix because LSU needs it. Like I said last week, that depth can really be a problem for LSU. And when you look at kind of the stats from yesterday, the big three, Michaela Williams, Flau'jae Johnson, and Anissa Morrow, didn't have their best shooting performances. They didn't shoot the ball particularly well. They made some things happen. They played well, but they didn't shoot, lights out to get to the win like they did against Oklahoma. Flau'jae goes 4 for 10, 0 for 3 from 3. Michaela Williams is 6 for 15, 2 of 7 for 3. And Anissa Morrow 4 of 16, 0 for 1 from 3. That's 28 of 73 total as a team for LSU. 38% is not very good. But one thing they did do well is shoot the free throw, and they rebounded well. Obviously, that's who they are. They're going to rebound the basketball well. But when you have a shooting night like that where your big three shoots a combined, 10 of 25, 14 of 41, I don't know exactly what percentage that is. It's about 34%. That's not very good. That's good in baseball. .341 is good in baseball, but in basketball, that's not what you're really looking for. So you needed a performance like you got from Kaylin Gilbert, who goes 7 of 15, 3 of 4 from 3, 6 of 7 from the line. Then you also have Jada Richard coming off, hitting big shots. She had 5 points. She was 2 of 2 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3. Miracle Shepherd shot 50%, got to the line, made 2 of 3. Miracle Shepherd also had 5 defensive rebounds. She had a steal. You had some help from depth. You know what I mean? That was kind of my discussion going into Sunday, was the depth. And you had that yesterday. You had a performance from your bench where you didn't have to – you weren't living and dying by Flau'jae, Michaela, and Anissa. And that was my biggest concern. And I talked about it on Friday, was if that's the way LSU is going to play, if you're going to live and die by those three, you're going to come up short a handful of times. And especially when you're playing teams like Tennessee, this is a tournament game. This is a really good program, a really good team. When you get to March, living and dying by 3 players in the roster isn't going to lead to success very often. And so when you have performances like you did from Kaylin Gilbert, Miracle Shepherd, Jada Richard, and even Jersey Wolfenbarger got in there and had some rebounds, some steals, made some things happen. But you got great minutes out of Kaylin. Miracle Shepherd had 27 minutes. Jada Richard, 5 points in 5 minutes. Excellent. But getting some help from the bench, making things happen. Shepherd has been nice the last 2 games. She's coming along, getting some bigger minutes. Her role is becoming more defined. Those are the things that are going to lead to success for LSU. And so when it turns around to this coming Sunday against Texas, you're going to need a lot of the same things. You're going to need a better performance from your big three. But if they start to struggle, the bench has to step up. Carl Cat says it well. The bench saved them yesterday, 100%.
And that has to snowball.
You need, and if LSU wants to win that national championship, if they want to put another banner up there, it has to snowball. Your performance from the bench has to continue to grow upon yesterday, where Kaylin Gilbert gets in a little bit of a groove and stays there. Miracle Shepherd gets you great minutes. That was 27 solid minutes she played, where she affects the game in much more ways than scoring the basketball. She gets 8 points, 3 of 6 from the field, but she also had 5 rebounds from the guard spot. She had 2 assists. She had a steal and a block, like stat sheet stuffed. And to me, that's how LSU is going to find success in March and beyond. You need bench performances. And so that's a huge win for LSU on a national stage. All eyes on Tennessee and the Tigers. And Kim Mulkey and her crew get it done. They looked good. It was an impressive win, a big win, and the game is only going to get bigger on this coming Sunday. I mean, February 16th in Austin, you have to travel and take down a team that just beat the boogeyman. South Carolina was the team that LSU couldn't get over the hump against. And Tennessee just went and took care of business. And they beat South Carolina on the glass. South Carolina didn't shoot the ball very well. They're going to be feeling really good about themselves, but LSU can shut that down quick. But they have to make it happen, and it'll be exciting to watch on Sunday, February 16th. And we're going to work on it, have a watch party in here for you guys, so y'all can enjoy some women's basketball with us and hopefully a win, because it's going to be a big time game. This is a big weekend for LSU with baseball getting started and a huge game against Texas. For women's basketball.
Spectrum Healthcare said Texas beat South Carolina.
Yep, 66-62.
You're serious.
Yeah, I mean, they beat them 66-62 yesterday and looked good doing it. Like, it wasn't the prettiest game, but they beat South Carolina at South Carolina's game. South Carolina wants to make it ugly. And Texas was able to play the ugly game and beat them. And so they've got some size. They've obviously got talent. They're a well-coached program. It's going to be a big one on Sunday. And if you're LSU, this is such a good opportunity after South Carolina falls to Texas to kind of, catapult yourself into the upper echelon of the sport and say, we are here. Like, our response to a loss to South Carolina is rattling off 3 ranked wins in the league. I mean, after losing South Carolina, you played Oklahoma, win. You played Tennessee, win. Both of those are at home, so there's a little bit of an asterisk next to it. Well, guess what? You want to get rid of that asterisk? Texas in Austin on Sunday. That's how you do it.
Get it done, Coach.
That's how you do it. And so to me, it's a huge matchup for LSU, and it's going to be exciting to see here and watch. And I'm hoping we can get this watch party ironed out because I want to enjoy it with each and every one of you as we get going. But obviously, every day we are brought to you by Barker's Brothers Plumbing and Works. We were talking about it last week. We got into a whole discussion of toilets and porta-johns and things like that. But obviously, if you have any plumbing issues, call Barker Brothers, 225-776-2431. Mention the Culotta Show for 15% off. So if you have any issues, Super Bowl parties yesterday, a lot of people moving in and out of the house, in and out of the restroom. You never know what's going to happen. We've told the story on the show plenty of times where when Katie was around, she had a party at the house. Guy drops a log in the toilet, clogs it up, floods the bathroom, and just dips. Just walks right out the door. Just floods the bathroom, walks right out. That happened to you yesterday. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, 225-776-2431.
Might happen today.
It might happen today. From the snacks, the wings, the beer, food, all of it. You never, a lot of upset stomachs.
I think today is the day. Right now is the time.
So get ahead of it. Bring your plumber in now.
After that early morning nicotine or coffee, I think now is the time for it.
225-776-2431. And speaking of crappy, we're going to get into this LSU men's basketball discussion. I was in the PMAC Saturday night.
Were you?
For a, somewhat big crowd. I mean, the student section was there. The 300 section was pretty empty, but the hundreds and the 200 were relatively filled.
Okay.
This was a big opportunity to me for LSU. As much as the season's over, because it's over. It was over before. It's 1,000% over now as they fell 72-70 at the buzzer to Ole Miss.
I think in college basketball, if you win your tournament, you're in, right?
Yeah, automatic bid.
Okay. So not over, but
it's not completely over.
But that is
But to me, it's
are they even in the tournament? They might not even.
That's
make
the thing.
tournament.
I think only 14 of the 16 get in.
Yeah, so they're not even in.
12 of the 14. Something like 2 teams get left out. I'm pretty sure. Well, right now you're second to last in the league.
Yeah.
So that means the South Carolina game's massive when you play them because you're going to need to beat them. But I was in the PMAC on Saturday. Man, it left a bad taste in my mouth. And, I was relatively upset with the team going into that, prior to that game. But I liked the way that they continued to fight in some of these matchups. I was pretty pissed off leaving the PMAC on Saturday because it was an immature way to lose a basketball game. Like the way in which LSU dropped that game was ugly. I mean, you're up 70-59 with 3 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. Like in my eye, I mean, LSU was in control of that basketball game the entire second half until you hit the 3-minute mark. And they attempted 1 field goal in the last 3 minutes of that game. Didn't make it. They got to the line a few times. Didn't really make those either. I'm talking about this women's basketball win. They shot 20 of 22 from the line. They overcame 38% from the field by making 20 of their 22 free throws.
Which is not like LSU. LSU usually makes their free throws.
And so on Saturday, I think they were 48% from the free throw line and missed some really big ones at the end of that basketball game.
That's how you lose.
Some really big ones at the end of that basketball game. So the poor free throw performance, really cost you at the end of that game, where you had opportunities to make things happen, and you didn't. And so it left a bad taste in my mouth because the one thing this team can't be is immature. Like, you have to be mature in the way you handle business, and they weren't. You've had one glaring issue, really, through SEC play, and it was turnovers. And you didn't turn the basketball over. Like, to me, I always thought if LSU gets it under 15, if they're 12 or lower in the turnover number, they're going to be a lot more competitive and win these basketball games, And they did that. I think their total was 9 turnovers. They had 10 turnovers. They only forced 5, but they had 10. I mean, I know 10's kind of a lot, but compared to what LSU's done, 10 is an excellent number at the turnover margin. And so you finally take care of the basketball, but you lose it in so many other ways. I mean, you didn't block out. You didn't make free throws. And to me, the turning point of the game was Corey Chest's technical foul stacked on top of each other. I mean, you're up in that basketball game. I don't remember the moment exactly when it happened, but it was such a big moment because LSU's in front. And you gift Ole Miss 4 points. Like, those things cannot happen if you want to be a competitive basketball team and you want to win games. Like, it just can't. And not only was the technical foul bad, the first foul happens 90 feet away from the goal. It's at the 5-minute mark of the game. Sears just knocks down 2 free throws. And LSU's up 10 points. Chest fouls, technical foul right after. And to me, the things that led up to that technical foul is where the immaturity comes in. This is not a knock against Corey Chest. He's a redshirt freshman, right? These emotional things happen. But Corey Chest, he missed a little gimme at the rim. He caught a lob and he missed it. I mean, they put it back in and finished and got the points. Well, then he gets an open dunk and he misses that one. Well, the next play, a couple plays later after that missed dunk, and this is not a knock on Corey Chest because he kept you in the game with defensive rebounding. To me, before this moment, he got every single defensive rebound you needed to win that basketball game. But he misses that dunk, and then down on the other end, there's you go through the deal on defense, and then the technical foul happens that next real defensive possession after the missed dunk and the missed lob, layup, whatever. So it's an emotional time, emotional point of the game, but you're up 11 points. Or 10 points. You're up 10 points. 53-63 with 5 remaining in that basketball game. You know, I mean, you still found a way to get up, but you gave them a glimmer of hope when you gifted them 4 points. I mean, you could have put that game away. You know, you the first foul, whatever, let them shoot 2 free throws. You gift them another 2, they get a 4-point swing. You know, and then Cam Carter was able to respond with a 3. You were able to find some offensive responses, but then in that last 3 minutes of the game, you know, Cam Carter makes a layup with 3:15 left. After that, LSU does not score a point. You're up 70-59, and LSU doesn't score a point. Shooting foul next time down, Ole Miss scores. Second chance free throws off of an opponent turnover. Just, you know, it was bad things that led to that loss. And LSU's not in the position to lose games like that. Like, you had a chance for momentum. Number 25, a ranked SEC team, is in your house. This is your first time having a lead going into halftime, and you blow it. I mean, you gifted them that win. And as much as a lot of these things I didn't put on Matt McMahon because I thought, you know, players make these mistakes, missed blockouts, missed free throws, and, you know, the lack of mindset to be prepared in those moments, that's coaching. Those things have to be taken care of. And I like Matt McMahon. But that is absolutely a game that you cannot lose. In the position you're in right now at LSU, and I'm not even talking about Matt McMahon, I'm talking about LSU as a whole at this point. If you're LSU and you're in that spot, you cannot lose that basketball game. To me, it couldn't get any uglier than Texas and Georgia. You lose by combined, I think, 60 points. What was it? 31, you lose to Texas, you lose to Georgia by 20. I didn't think it could get any uglier. And you look at the final score and you might say, hey, 72-70, that's not that bad of a loss. You were winning 70-59. You allowed a 13-0 run in the last 3 minutes of that basketball game. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Cannot happen. I would rather lose in my own arena by 31 than gift it away like LSU did on Saturday. It's completely and entirely unacceptable. You know, like, the Texas loss stung. Turning around, losing a draw like that stung. You lost to 2 not very good teams in the league by a whole lot of points. But to play like you played on Saturday and give it away in the last 3 minutes is beyond unacceptable. And I was feeling relatively good about the team. Like, I was watching the game. I'm in the PMAC, and I'm like, okay. Like, this team looks good. They looked immature. They looked solid. Like, not immature. They looked mature. They were doing the right things. They were taking care of the basketball. They were making things happen. And in the last 3 minutes, crumbled. Like, there's no other way to go about it. And to me, it stings in a way that LSU hadn't had one sting yet this season. You know, they've lost some ugly ones. But that was bad. And I walked out of that PMAC annoyed, aggravated, because you had it in your hands. You're up 11 points with 3 minutes to go. And you gave it away. You missed shots. You got good defensive stops, and you didn't block out and rebound. If LSU blocks out and rebounds that basketball, whole different game. You make a couple of free throws, whole different game. And then you got dominated inside to close out that game. I mean, just rough. Absolutely rough. There's no other way to go about it. I mean, because to me, a 13-0 run, Like, you're up 67-70 at this point. I'm going through the play-by-play. I'm replaying this game in my brain right now, getting pissed off again. Because you're up 67-70, and Matt McMahon calls timeout. Excellent timeout. I was glad he called it because he needed it. Probably could have called it earlier, but I'm okay with it. That's a good timeout to get your team straight. When you come out of the timeout, personal foul. Corey Chess goes to the line. Missed free throw. Defense rebound. Well, guess what? The other end, missed layup by Ole Miss. But what happens? 58 seconds left. You forced a missed layup. If you block out and you get this rebound, it's a whole different game. Offense rebound by Ole Miss. And what do offensive rebounds turn into majority of the time, Christian? Do you know?
Putbacks,
but a lot of times, the best three-pointer you can get on the court is off an offensive rebound. LSU's up by 3 points right now with 58 seconds left. They get the rebound, second chance three-point jumper made by Ole Miss. 70-70 tie ball game.
Showed for 36 minutes.
And then you go down the other end.
With
Charge.
if you're connected as
going the other way. I didn't like the call. It was 100% a flop in my eyes. Cam Carter's arm did not fully extend. It extended. He had it here, but it didn't all the way extend. The defensive player flopped. But I can't even get mad about that because LSU should have never been in that situation at all. You shouldn't leave the game up in the ref's hands. They're going to make a bad call. I didn't like the charge call, but like I said, you shouldn't have been there. It shouldn't have mattered at that point. You should have won the game. So it's a turnover on LSU. Ole Miss calls a timeout. And guess how they win? The Ole Miss guard tries to drive into the lane, miss layup. Guess what happens? Tip in, game over. I mean, and the thing that annoyed me more than is that the officials put .1 back on the clock. Just leave it. The game's over. We don't need that .1 on the clock. But it just, you lost on an offensive rebound putback. There's no other way for me to feel about it other than pissed off. You gifted that basketball game away when you had every opportunity to get your second win, first ranked win in the conference, and you didn't do it. That's a bad basketball team. Bad teams find ways to lose games. LSU found a way to give that game away. They wrapped it, they put a bow on top, and they gifted it to Ole Miss. It was bad. It was ugly. And it got me fired up thinking about it again because LSU should have won that basketball game. As much as the season was kind of over, Matt McMahon and LSU needed that win just for the sake of the program, for the sake of the discussion. And they did probably the worst thing they could have done for the sake of the program, losing it the way they did. So, I mean, they'll be back in action soon.
Brutal.
But I don't think that there will be much excitement. There will be no excitement. There's not going to be any energy around this program going into the games coming up. I mean, you face Arkansas on Wednesday, which is the one SEC win you have this year is against Arkansas, but they're playing much better basketball right now. Arkansas looks a lot better than they did when you faced them and you got that win at home. You're going to Fayetteville now. Arkansas's last couple of games, they lose to Alabama by 3. They beat Texas by 8. They handle Kentucky in Rupp 89-79. And then you head to Norman right after. So you're going from Wednesday in Fayetteville to Norman on Saturday. And then you come back home for South Carolina, who's the worst team in the league, next week. So I mean, and then after that, you go Florida, number 6, who just beat Auburn, Tennessee to close, number 4 in the country to close out the month. Then after that, you go Mississippi State, Kentucky, Texas A&M. So you've got 3 games against okay opponents. Arkansas is playing really good. Oklahoma's a good basketball team. South Carolina's not very good. After that, it's 5 straight against ranked opponents in the league. There's not a lot of wins left on this schedule. And you had one on Saturday. And you gave it away. You know, like there's no other way to truly talk about it other than being angry.
The Louisiana State University Pelicans. I
mean, it was like it was an all-timer. And I know we cut Matt McMahon's sound. We're not gonna play it. I'm just gonna read some of it here. He says, Matt McMahon opens up saying, "Credit to Ole Miss for finding ways to win down the stretch. I'm heartbroken that I wasn't able to help our players to the finish line at the end of the game. I thought for 36 minutes that we played our best basketball in league play against a legitimate top 15 in the country. To not be able to finish and make the plays that we needed to make down the stretch is devastating." Devastating is a good word. Cam Carter got asked what happened in the final 3 minutes of the game. He said they capitalized on our mistakes. 100%. I mean, that's what happened. You know? And so there's not going to be any excitement going into these next 8 games at all. I mean, the sliver of the fan base that you had bought in going into Saturday, you kind of lost. Like, you know, I was sitting in the PMAC on Saturday. There was some real energy in there when it got down to the nitty-gritty, you know? And you lost it in the ugliest way you could. 13-0 run in the last 3 minutes of that basketball game. Those are numbers that are going to stick in my brain for the rest of the season. We'll see what LSU basketball team we get on, Wednesday, as they take on Arkansas.